He proposed to her in a broken room. Not a hotel, not a restaurant, not a rooftop with fairy lights and a crowd of people watching. A broken room. Cracked walls, a mattress on the floor, one plastic chair, a ceiling with a small hole where the rain came in. The kind of room where people sleep and pray that tomorrow is different from today. And in that room, with nothing but himself and his love and a ring that had cost him more than he could really afford, he went down on one knee. And she said yes. She said yes without knowing. She said yes without knowing that the man in front of her, the man she thought was struggling, the man whose rent she had quietly helped pay, the man she had bought food for, cooked for, worried about, cried over, the man she believed was just trying to survive, that man was a millionaire. Not almost a millionaire, not trying to become one, already one, with money sitting in accounts she had never seen, in a mansion she had never visited, in a life he had hidden from her completely because he needed to know one thing before he could show her any of it. He needed to know if she loved him. Not the money, not the cars, not the houses, not the life. Him. And when she said yes in that broken room, on that cold floor, with that ring in his hand and nothing else around them worth anything, he finally had his answer. Now you might be thinking, why would a millionaire sleep in a broken room? Why would a man with millions live like he had nothing? Why would someone with everything pretend to have nothing? That is the question this story answers. And the answer is going to surprise you, because the reason he did it goes back much further than you think. It goes back to a boy who grew up with nothing, a boy who built everything himself, a boy who learned at a very young age that when you have money, you can never be sure who is really there for you. This story has everything. It has a childhood that will break your heart. It has a hustle that will inspire you. It has a love story that will make you question everything you think you know about trust. And it has a moment, one single moment in that broken room, that will stay with you long after this video is over. But I am not going to tell you everything right now, because the best part is still coming. The part where she finds out. The part where the broken room reveals what was hidden. The part where everything changes in one afternoon. You want to know what happens? Stay right here. Every single second of this story is worth it. And before we start, if you are watching Folktales Vision for the first time, welcome. We tell the kind of stories that stay with you. The kind you think about on your way to work. The kind you share with someone you love and say, you need to hear this. So do 3 things right now. Like this video. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell because we drop new stories every week and you do not want to miss a single one. And drop a comment below, have you ever tested someone you loved? Or have you ever been tested without knowing it? Tell us your story. We read every single comment. Now, let us go back to the beginning. Because to understand that broken room, you need to understand the boy who walked into it. And that story starts very far from any mansion. His name was Imre Bello. And if you saw him as a child, you would never have guessed what he was going to become. Not in a million years. He grew up in Warri, a city in Delta State, Nigeria. Loud, hot, busy, real. The kind of city that does not apologize for itself. The kind of city that either breaks you or builds you, and which one it does depends entirely on what is inside you when you arrive. Imre arrived in Warri on a Wednesday afternoon in 1995, born in a public hospital where the power had been going on and off all day, and the nurses were tired but kind. He was the 3rd child of Mr. Boniface Bello and Mrs. Miriam Bello. He had 2 older sisters, Kioma, who was 7, and Esse, who was 5, and the family lived in a rented compound in Ekured or Hobo, which was the kind of neighborhood where everybody knew everybody's business and nobody had too much, but nobody was completely lost either. His father, Boniface, drove a commercial bus, not his own bus, someone else's bus. He drove it from 6 in the morning until 8 at night and brought home whatever was left after he had paid the owner's share. Some days that was good. Some days it was nothing. He was a big man with a loud laugh and a temper that came and went like the rainy season. And he loved his family in the particular way that Nigerian fathers of that generation loved their families, which was through sacrifice and presence, and very rarely through words. His mother, Miriam, was the real engine of the house. She sold pepper soup from a big pot outside their compound every evening. She was up at 4 in the morning to prepare. She was selling by 5 in the afternoon. She was cleaning up by 11 at night. She did this every single day. Christmas was the only day she did not sell, and even on Christmas, she was up early preparing things for the next day. She had the specific energy of a woman who has decided that her children's lives are going to be better than hers, and that decision gave her power that did not come from rest. Emre grew up watching his mother work. He did not just watch passively. He helped. From the time he was 6 years old, he was washing the big pot. From the time he was 8, he was helping carry the gas cylinder. From the time he was 10, he was sitting beside her at the pot every evening, learning the ingredients, learning the timing, learning the numbers. How much pepper, how much stock, how many portions per pot, how much each portion cost, how much each portion sold for. He absorbed all of it without being taught it formally. He just watched and listened and understood. Emre, his mother said to him one evening when he was 10, as they were cleaning up after selling, "You watch everything." "I'm learning," he said. She looked at him. "What are you learning?" He thought about it seriously. "I'm learning the difference between what something costs and what it's worth." She was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. The kind of smile that a mother gives a child when she realizes that something in that child is beyond what she expected. "Where did you learn that?" she said. "From watching you," he said. She did not say anything else, but she put her hand on top of his and pressed it once, and he understood. School was where things got complicated. Emre was a good student, but not a perfect one. He was smart in the ways that matter in the real world, which are not always the ways that matter in a classroom. He understood patterns. He understood how things connected to other things. He understood why problems existed before he started thinking about solutions. He read fast and remembered what he read. But he got bored easily when things moved slowly. And some of his teachers were not patient with a child who finished his work in 10 minutes and then started looking around for something more interesting to do. The school he attended was a government primary school. The building was old. Some of the desks were broken. The textbooks were from 10 years ago. The teachers came when they came, and sometimes they did not come at all. It was the kind of school that took children in and gave them the basics and hoped the basics were enough. For most of the children in his class, the basics were what they got. For Emre, the basics were where he started. There was a small library in the school. Actually, it was not a library. It was one room with 3 shelves and about 40 books, most of them donated by somebody years ago and never updated. But Emre had read every single book in that room by the time he was 11. He read them more than once. He had no choice because there were only 40 books and he had nothing else. The books he liked the most were not the storybooks. They were the books about business, how things worked, why some businesses survived and others did not, where money came from and where it went. There were 2 of these books in the room, both of them old and falling apart, and he had read each of them so many times that he had memorized entire chapters. One afternoon, his teacher, a woman named Mrs. Okoro, who was one of the better teachers in the school, caught him reading one of these books during a mathematics lesson. "Emre," she said sharply. He looked up. "What are you reading?" He showed her the cover. She looked at it, her expression changed. "Why are you reading that?" "Because it's interesting," he said honestly. "More interesting than mathematics." He thought about it. "Mathematics is inside this book," he said, "so it's the same thing." She looked at him for a long moment. Then she did something unexpected. She let him keep reading. At home, money was always the conversation that was happening underneath all the other conversations. When his father came home tired and did not speak at dinner, that was money. When his mother sent Kioma to the market with instructions about exactly what to buy and exactly what to spend, and not 1 naira more, that was money. When the school fees were due, and the week before they were due, there was a particular tension in the house that everybody felt and nobody named. That was money. Emre understood all of it. He understood it not as a child understands adult problems, from the outside with a child's partial view, but from the inside, because he had been sitting beside his mother's pepper soup pot for years, and he had seen every naira that came in and went out. He knew the margins. He knew which days were good. He knew that some months the school fees came easy, and some months they did not. And the months they did not were the months when his father's bus had broken down or the pepper soup had sold badly for a stretch. When he was 12, he made his first business decision. There was a boy in his school named Tund. Tund's father owned a provision shop in the market, and sometimes Tund brought snacks to school that he sold to other students during break time. Imre watched this for 2 weeks. He watched what Tund sold, what the students bought most, what they were willing to pay, and what was missing. What was missing was cold water. Warri was hot. The school had no water cooler. Students came to school thirsty and left thirsty, and the only water available was warm water from the tap. Tund was selling biscuits and sweets, but nothing cold. Imre went to his mother and asked her a question. "Mama, if I wanted to buy a small cooler and sell cold water at school, would you help me start?" His mother looked at him. "How much is a small cooler?" He had already checked. He told her. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "What will you sell?" "Sachet water, cold, 10 naira each." "How many can you carry to school?" He had already calculated. He told her. She did the mental arithmetic he had also already done. She said, "The profit margin is thin." He said, "I know, but nobody else is doing it. And if I do it for 1 term and save everything, I can expand in the 2nd term." She looked at her 12-year-old son. Then she went to the tin where she kept the household money, and she counted out enough for a small cooler and 1 day's worth of cold sachets. "You pay me back in 2 weeks, she said. 1 week, he said. He paid her back in 5 days. By the end of that school term, Imre had a small but real operation. He had 2 coolers. He had a boy in his class named Jide helping him carry them. He was paying Jide a small daily amount and keeping the rest. He had enough money to expand into snacks the following term, and he had learned something important that no book had taught him. He had learned that the best business is the one where you are the only person doing it. Not because it stays that way. Tund noticed what Imre was doing and tried to add cold water to his own selling. But Imre had 2 terms of learning the customers, knowing who bought what, adjusting his stock based on what sold fast and what sat in the cooler. He had relationships. By the time Tund started selling cold water, Imre already had loyalty. Secondary school changed things. When he was 13, his father's bus was involved in an accident. Nobody was killed, but the bus was badly damaged, and the owner, a man named Chief Akafer who had never been particularly kind, decided that the accident was Boniface's fault and refused to compensate him. Boniface lost the bus, which meant he lost the income, which meant the family lost the one thing that had been holding everything together. The next 6 months were the hardest the Bello family ever went through. Miriam's pepper soup income alone was not enough for rent and food and school fees for 3 children. Boniface found small driving work here and there, but nothing consistent. Kioma, who was now 20 and working as a shop assistant, sent money home when she could. Esse, who was doing a vocational program, was still a financial dependent. It fell to Imre's cold water and snack business to help. He was 13 years old, and he was contributing to his family's rent. He did not say anything about this to anyone at school. He came to school in his clean uniform, and he sold his water and his snacks, and he did his schoolwork, and he went home, and he helped his mother with the pepper soup, and he slept, and he started again. He did not complain. He did not ask for pity. He simply kept moving, because moving was the only direction that made sense. The thing that happened to him during those 6 months was not visible from the outside. What happened was inside him. Something became permanent. Something that was always going to be there, but had not yet set hard, became hard. It was a knowledge, not hope, not ambition, not even determination exactly. Something quieter and more absolute than all of those things. The knowledge that he was going to get out, not run away from the family or from Warri, but get out of the specific condition. The condition of counting every naira before it was spent. The condition of the house going quiet when the school fees were due. The condition of his father coming home tired from driving someone else's vehicle to make someone else richer. He was going to get out of that condition, and he was going to take his family with him. By the time he was 15, the cold water business had evolved into something more structured. He had 3 boys working for him now, each with their own designated area of the school compound. He was buying his stock in bulk from a supplier he had found in the main market who gave him better prices than the provision shops. He was making margins that surprised him when he added them up at the end of the week. He was also, by this point, thinking about something much bigger: real estate. He had been reading, not just the 2 old books in the school library, those were finished years ago. He was reading everything he could find: old newspapers, business magazines that the school's commercial teacher, a man named Mr. Adami, lent him from his private collection. He was reading about property, about land, about how the men who had real wealth in Nigeria had built it, and what he was reading confirmed something he had suspected. Land did not lose value. People always needed somewhere to live. The country was growing. Cities were expanding. And the men who had bought land 10 years ago when it was cheap were now sitting on something worth many times what they paid. He was 15. He had no money to buy land, but he was taking notes. Secondary school ended when he was 17. His results were excellent. Not perfect, but genuinely excellent, the kind of results that a boy achieves when he is the kind of student who studies seriously, but also works a business on the side and somehow does both things properly. His mother hugged him when the results came out. His father, still not the man who used words for love, put his hand on Imre's shoulder and pressed it once, which was more than he usually did. "What next?" his father asked. Imre had already decided. University in Lagos, business administration, because Lagos was where the game was played at the level he needed to understand. The question was money. The question was always money. But Imre had money, not much, not enough alone, but his mother had been saving. Kioma had been contributing, and Imre himself had enough from the business that when everything was put together, the first year was covered. The second year, he would figure out when he got there. He always did. Lagos hit him like a fist, and then like a hand. The fist first. The crowds, the traffic, the noise, the speed of everything. The way the city moved at a pace that did not slow down for anyone new or anyone confused or anyone who had not kept up. He arrived at the bus park with one big bag and an address written on a piece of paper, and for the first hour he stood in the noise of Lagos and felt, for the first time in his life, genuinely small. Then the hand. Because once the fist had stopped him, the hand revealed everything. The opportunities, the movement, the buying and selling and building and moving of a city that never stopped. There was money changing hands everywhere in Lagos, on every street corner, in every traffic jam, in every tiny shop and large office building and market and bus park. Money was Lagos's blood, constantly circulating, and if you could find where to insert yourself into the circulation, it would carry you. Imre spent his first week not settling in. Settling in was a luxury he did not have. He spent his first week mapping. He walked every route from his small rented room in Surulere to the university campus, every market and provision shop along the way, every gap he could see, every problem he could identify that a business might solve. He ate cheap, he slept light, and he walked and he watched. By the end of the first week, he had identified 3 opportunities. The first was student accommodation. The university campus was overcrowded. Many students lived far from campus in rooms that were cheap but badly managed. They had water problems, electricity problems, security problems, and they paid for these terrible conditions because there was nothing better at the price point they could afford. The second was food. The campus canteen was not enough. The surrounding area had food sellers, but the quality was inconsistent and the pricing was confusing. Students wanted affordable food they could trust. They wanted to know that what they were eating today would be the same as what they ate yesterday. The third was transport. Getting from Surulere to the campus and back was an exercise in waiting. The Danfos and Keek were unpredictable. Students who had morning lectures arrived late. Students who had late lectures missed their transport home. There was a gap between what was needed and what existed. He could not solve all three at once. He had almost no capital, but he could start somewhere. He started with food. He found the best home cook in the compound where he lived. Her name was Mama Victor, a woman in her 50s who cooked for herself and her son and produced meals from a small kitchen that smelled so good the entire building noticed. He approached her with a proposal. "Mama Victor," he said, standing in the doorway of her kitchen, "I want to buy your food and sell it to students." She looked at him. "What?" "Your jollof rice, your egusi soup, your fried plantain. I will buy it from you every morning. I will price it and sell it to students at the campus. We split the profit." She studied him for a long moment. "You're a student yourself," she said. "Yes," he said. "You want to sell food while going to school?" "Yes." "Why not just focus on your studies?" "My studies teach me theory," he said. "This teaches me practice. I need both." She thought about this. How do we share the profit? He had already calculated the ratio. He explained it. She listened. She asked 2 questions, both sharp and practical. He answered them. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Start on Monday." Monday, he arrived at her kitchen at 6 in the morning with containers and a small cart borrowed from a boy in the next compound. He bought 2 pots worth of food and pushed the cart to campus. By 10 in the morning, everything was sold. He went back to Mama Victor and bought more. By the end of the first month, he was making enough to pay his own rent and send a small amount home. By the end of the 3rd month, he had hired 2 boys to help him sell while he attended his lectures. By the end of the 1st year, the food business had funded itself completely and generated a surplus. He put the surplus into the next thing. Property. Not buying property. He could not afford that yet, but he had noticed something specific about the student accommodation problem. The rooms were bad, but the students were desperate, and desperate people paid for solutions even if the solutions were not perfect. He found a landlord in Surrey who had a building that was half empty because the building needed repairs that the landlord could not afford to do. The landlord wanted tenants, but could not get them because the building was in poor condition. Imre went to the landlord with a proposal. "I will repair 3 rooms, he said. "I will do it at my own cost. In exchange, you give me those 3 rooms for 2 years at reduced rent." The landlord was skeptical. "You're a student. What do you know about repairs?" "I've already identified a contractor," Imre said. He had spent 2 weeks finding a good cheap contractor in the area. "He gives me a quote. The repairs are simple painting, plumbing fixtures, ceiling fans, door locks, nothing structural." The landlord was quiet. "You have 3 empty rooms that are making you nothing," Imre said. "After 2 years, the rooms will be improved and you can re-rent them at market rate. You gain improved property. I gain below market rent for 2 years. Both sides win." The landlord agreed. Imre repaired the 3 rooms. He rented them to students at a price that was above what he paid the landlord, but below what the market was charging for rooms in worse condition. The students came immediately because the rooms were clean and functional and fairly priced, which was rare. He was in the accommodation business. In his 2nd year of university, he had 6 rooms under his management using the same model he had established with the first landlord. In his 3rd year, he had 11 rooms. He was also, by his 3rd year, genuinely studying his course material with new eyes, because what he was learning in business administration classes was now connected to things he was actually doing rather than things he was imagining. One lecturer, a man named Dr. Osai, who taught real estate economics as an elective module, became important to him. Dr. Osai was a Ghanaian academic who had spent time in South Africa and the United Kingdom before coming to Lagos, and he taught the way a man teaches who has actually done the thing he is teaching about. He was not performing knowledge. He had it. After one of Dr. Osai's lectures, Imre stayed behind. "Dr. Osai," he said, "I have a question about land acquisition." Dr. Osai looked at him. "What kind of question?" "A practical one, not exam relevant. I'm looking at an area on the outskirts of Lagos where land is cheap because development hasn't reached it yet. My calculation says development will reach it in 3 to 5 years based on infrastructure patterns. My question is how to structure an acquisition at my current capital level. Dr. Osai put down his papers. He looked at Imre with the specific attention of a man who recognizes something unusual. "Sit down," he said. Imre sat. They talked for 1 hour and 40 minutes, not lecturer and student, two people who understood property talking about property. By the end of the conversation, Dr. Os had introduced Imre to the concept of pooled investment, where multiple buyers combine resources to purchase land that none of them could afford alone. And Imre had found the piece he was missing. He spent the next 2 months finding the right partners, not random investors, specific people. He found 4 other students who had family money available, not students from struggling backgrounds like his own, but students whose families had some capital and no good place to put it. He presented them each with a proposal so detailed and clearly argued that 2 of them showed it to their fathers. Both fathers invested. At 20 years old, Imre Bello was part of a land investment pool that had purchased a plot of land on the outskirts of Lagos. His personal share was small, but it was real. And he had structured the deal so that his management contribution, the work of identifying the land, doing the legal research, managing the process, was compensated with an additional equity percentage that came to him when the land eventually sold. It took 4 years. When it sold for 3 times what they had paid. Imre's payout was significant, not life-changing in itself, but large enough to do something larger. He graduated at 21. His result was good, but nobody who knew what he had built during his university years was primarily thinking about his result. Dr. Osai, at his graduation, shook his hand and said, "You understand this already. The degree is just paper." Imre smiled. "The paper is useful for certain doors," he said. "True," Dr. Osai said. "Just don't let it become your ceiling." It never did. From 21 to 25, Imre built, not flashily, not with announcements, with relentless, careful, patient construction of something real. He moved from pooled investment to his own purchases. He identified land in developing corridors around Lagos and Abuja. He held some, sold some, developed some. When he developed, he built modestly sized residential properties, not luxury housing for the wealthy but decent housing for the growing middle class, families who were earning real money for the first time and wanted a real home that was not a slum, but was also within reach of what they actually had. This market was enormous. This market was hungry, and almost nobody was building for it properly. He built for it properly. He built 16 properties in 3 years. He sold them all, every single one, sometimes before they were finished. He was making money that was beginning to be serious money. He also, at 23, did something that turned out to be one of the most important decisions of his professional life. He hired a man named Mr. Fashola. Mr. Fashola was 54 years old, a retired civil engineer who had spent 30 years in government construction before retiring. He was not wealthy. He was not famous, but he understood buildings the way a musician understands sound, from the inside, completely. And he had something that Imre did not have and could not buy quickly, which was deep experience and the network that comes from a long career in a specific industry. Imre found him through Dr. Osai, who mentioned him in passing as someone worth talking to. Imre talked to him for 3 hours in a restaurant in Aikja and offered him a position that surprised the older man. "I am not looking for an employee," Mr. Fashola said. "I am retired." "I am not offering employment," Imre said. "I am offering partnership, your knowledge and your network, my capital and my business development, equity share on every project you directly advise." Mr. Fashola looked at him for a moment. "How old are you?" 23. The older man shook his head slightly with a look that was somewhere between amusement and respect. "You're 23 years old and you're offering me equity." "I'm 23 years old and I know what I know and I know what I don't know," Imre said. "What I don't know is what you know. What I can provide is the capital and the commercial intelligence. What you can provide is the technical depth and the relationships. Together, we build something neither of us builds alone. Mr. Fashola said yes. Together, they moved faster. The quality of Imre's builds improved because Mr. Fashola's technical oversight eliminated the costly errors that young developers typically made. The projects that Mr. Fashola connected them to through his government network were larger and more lucrative than what Imre had been accessing alone. By 25, Imre Bello was worth more money than his father had ever seen in his entire life. More money than anyone in his family had ever seen. More money than most people in his neighborhood back in Warri would believe a 25-year-old could have. And almost nobody knew it. He drove a clean but ordinary car. He lived in a decent but not impressive flat in Lagos. He dressed well but not expensively. He did not talk about money except when he was working, and when he was working, he talked about it in numbers and structures and returns, not in cars and parties and what he owned. He had seen, by this point, what happened to young men who announced their wealth too early. He had watched it happen to two contemporaries. One had been exploited by family members who came with problems money was supposed to solve. One had attracted a crowd of people whose interest was entirely in the wealth, and who had no interest whatsoever in the person. Both men had lost years of focus and significant amounts of money to the specific gravity of announced success. He was not going to make that mistake. But there was a different kind of loneliness that came with hidden success. And it was in this loneliness that a question started to grow in him. A question that his business intelligence could not answer, that his spreadsheets could not model, that his property law knowledge was completely useless against. Was anyone seeing him? Not his money, not his success, not what he had built. Him, Imre Bello, the boy from Warri who sold cold water at school and watched his mother count naira in the lamplight. Was anyone actually seeing that person? Because he had started to suspect that if he revealed himself, really revealed himself, the wealth would be the first thing they saw and the last thing they would stop seeing. And everything else about him, the parts he had built with his own hands and his own will and his own sleepless nights, would disappear behind the number in his bank account. And then he met Zara. He met her at a property law conference in Abuja. Not a romantic setting, a hotel conference room with bad lighting and chairs that were slightly too small, and a speaker who had been talking for 40 minutes longer than he should have been. Imre was sitting in the third row, notebook on his knee, genuinely paying attention because there was one point in the presentation that connected to a contract structure he was currently working on, and he wanted to understand the legal detail. She was sitting 2 seats away from him. He noticed her because she was also taking notes. Real notes, not the polite scribbling that people do in conferences when they are pretending to pay attention. She was writing quickly, underlining things, occasionally drawing small diagrams that he could see from the corner of his eye. She was paying attention the same way he was paying attention. He found this interesting before he found her beautiful. She was 24. Her name was Zara Suleiman. She was a trainee legal advisor at a property firm in Abuja, which explained the conference attendance. She was from Kaduna. She had studied law at the University of Jos. She was the second of 3 children. Her father was a civil servant. Her mother was a teacher. She wore her hair natural and pulled back. She had a small gold earring in one ear only, and she had the kind of face that was not immediately striking from a distance, but became more interesting the closer you were to it. When the session ended for coffee break, Imre made a decision that was unusual for him. He introduced himself. The point he made about the caveats in joint development agreements, he said, standing beside her near the coffee table. I've been dealing with a structure that touches exactly that issue. What was your read on his interpretation? She looked at him. She registered the question before she registered who was asking it. This was the thing he noticed about her immediately. The question came first, the person second. I thought his interpretation was conservative, she said. Practical but conservative. In most standard agreements, the caveat holds, but there are specific performance clauses that can shift it. Depends entirely on how the original agreement defines default. He said, My solicitor flagged the same thing but used different language. He called it performance conditional rather than performance limited. Same concept, she said. Different jurisdictions frame it differently. They talked for the entire 20-minute coffee break. They talked through the next session, which they both attended and which generated more material for discussion. At the end of the conference day, they found themselves at the hotel entrance at the same time, going in different directions, and Imre said, "This conversation has been the most useful part of the day. Can we continue it?" She looked at him calmly. "Over dinner." "Yes," he said. "I'm available," she said simply. Not performing unavailability, not making him work for it, available and honest about it. He found this quality immediately appealing in a way that he understood was going to be significant. Dinner that night lasted 3 hours. They covered the rest of the legal point, and then they left it behind and moved through everything else, the way two people do when the conversation is easy and neither of them wants it to end. Her family in Kajuna. His work, described in general terms, property development, he did not give numbers or scale. Her law career and where she hoped to take it. His reading habits. Her habit of cooking on Sunday mornings as a form of thinking. His childhood in Warri, described honestly, the bus driver father, the pepper soup mother, the school selling business. He did not hide any of that. He never hid that. What he hid was the after. When she asked how the property business was going, he said, "Growing. It takes time and patience, but it's moving." He said this with absolute honesty because it was true, even if it significantly understated the reality. She did not press for details. She was not a woman who pressed people for details they had not offered. He noticed this. He noticed it the way you notice something you have been looking for without knowing you were looking. They exchanged numbers. He called her 2 days later, which was when he returned to Lagos. They talked for an hour. They talked again 3 days after that. A pattern developed. Not intense and overwhelming, steady, like water finding its level. He liked everything about her. He liked the way she thought, which was ordered and precise without being rigid. She could follow an argument, and she could disagree. And she explained why she disagreed with the particular care of someone who respected you enough to give you her real thinking rather than her performed thinking. He liked the way she talked about her family, warmly and honestly, not performing emotion, but not concealing it either. He liked that she had ambitions that were her own, not shaped by what a man might want from her. She wanted to become a senior partner at a commercial property law firm, and she had a 10-year plan for how to get there. He liked that she cooked seriously and had opinions about food. He liked that she read, really read, not just claimed to. He liked her. Specifically, completely, increasingly. And the weight of what he was not telling her began to build. Not lies, that was important, and he was precise about it with himself. He was not lying to her. He was withholding the scale. When she asked about his work, he told her the truth. Property development, growing, takes time. All of that was true. He just did not tell her that growing meant dozens of completed projects. That takes time meant the patience of a man who had already built significant wealth and was now building something larger. That property development meant a company with staff and a Mr. Fashola, and a portfolio that his accountant had recently valued at figures that would have changed her understanding of the man sitting across from her. He did not tell her because of the question that had been growing in him before he met her. The question about being seen, about knowing. He had met women before Zara. Not many, he had not had much time for it, but some. And in every case, at some point the money had come up, not through anything specific he said, but through visible signs, the office, the car he occasionally drove to meetings, something overheard, something deduced. And in every case, once the money was visible, the relationship changed. Not badly always, but the center of gravity shifted. The woman began to position around the wealth rather than around him. Small things changed. The questions changed. The quality of attention changed. He did not want that with Zara. He wanted to know who she was when he was just Imre. A man working in property development, growing, takes time. A man from Warri who had worked hard and was building something. Nothing more than that. He needed a few months. Just a few months of being that man with her, of seeing what she built with that man, before anything else entered the picture. This was the decision he made. He made it consciously. He made it with clear eyes. He also knew that it carried a risk. Because if it went far enough, if it became real enough, the moment of revelation would be significant. She would feel the weight of what he had not told her. She would have to decide what to do with that weight. And he could not know in advance how she would decide. But the alternative was to show her everything before she had seen him, and to spend the rest of the time wondering. He chose the uncertainty. He chose it deliberately. He accepted what it might cost. Zara moved to Lagos 8 months after they met. Her law firm had offered her a position in the Lagos office, which was a promotion with a significant increase in her scope. She asked him about Lagos before she decided. "I've been here 4 years," he said. "The city works for people who are willing to work for it." "Would it be strange," she said carefully, "to be in the same city as you while we are still figuring things out?" "I think the same city makes figuring things out easier," he said. "Okay," she said. She came. In Lagos, things became real in the way that things only become real when you share a city with them. They saw each other regularly. He took her to restaurants, not the expensive ones, places that were good but ordinary, the kind of places his food budget as a regular working person would justify. He cooked for her once, which she said was better than she expected, and she cooked for him twice, which was better than anything he had eaten in months. They went to the beach on weekends. They argued about a book they were both reading simultaneously and then laughed about the argument. He met 2 of her friends. She met Jide, who was now working for him but who he introduced as an old school friend, which was also true. She did not know about his company. She knew he had colleagues and that work was going well. She did not know what going well meant. She did not know about the mansion. This was the part that weighed on him most heavily, because the mansion existed. It was real, it was finished, and he had not told her about it. He had built it 2 years ago for his parents. A proper house in a secure estate in Warri, 4 bedrooms, a real kitchen, a garden, a generator, all the things that the compound in Ekuret or Hobo had never had. His father, retired now, sat on the porch in the evenings and looked at the garden with the expression of a man who cannot fully believe what has happened to his life. His mother cooked in the kitchen she had always deserved and cried the first time she turned on the gas cooker. He had told Zara about his parents, about Warri, about the pepper soup, about the bus driver, everything true. But he had not told her about the house he had built them because the house would have required explaining where the money came from, and the explanation would have made the scale visible, and he was not ready for that yet. This is what he told himself. Not yet, when I know, when I am sure, then I will tell her everything. But knowing takes time, and in the time it takes to know, things happen, feelings deepen. The relationship becomes what it becomes. And the weight of the untold thing grows heavier with every week that it remains untold. He was 26 years old. She was 25. They had been seeing each other for almost a year. And the question that had been in him since the beginning was still in him, unanswered, because he did not yet have enough to answer it with certainty. Until the night of the broken room. The broken room was not a plan. He needed to understand that clearly, looking back on it. He had not designed the broken room. The broken room happened because of a circumstance that revealed something he had not engineered, something that appeared on its own and showed him what he needed to see. He had rented a small flat in Mushin under a false name 18 months earlier. Not for himself, for an employee. A young man named Dili who had come to work for his company as a junior coordinator and who had arrived in Lagos from Ondo State with no connections and no accommodation, and who Emre had helped by arranging a cheap flat for him to stay in while he got himself established. The arrangement was informal, off the books, the kind of thing a boss does for a good young employee when the good young employee needs a hand. Dili had moved out 3 months ago. He had found his own place, met a girl, was doing well. But Emre had not yet formally ended the lease because the landlord had asked for 6 months' notice and the 6 months was not yet up, and so the flat was there, empty, under a name that was not his. He went there one afternoon when he needed to think. Not about property, not about business, about Zara. He had been carrying the question for 11 months now, And something was beginning to shift in him, not the question itself, but his relationship to it. He was beginning to feel that the cost of not knowing was becoming higher than the cost of knowing. He was beginning to feel that the longer he waited, the more damage the waiting itself was doing. And he was beginning to feel something else that was harder to name, which was that what he had with Zara had become something he did not want to risk losing by inaction. He sat in the broken room, cracked walls, the ceiling with a hole where the rain had come in the previous week and not fully dried, the mattress that Dealey had left behind because it was too heavy to move, the plastic chair, the small window that looked out at the compound where a woman was doing laundry and singing quietly. He sat in that room, and he thought clearly about Zara. About the way she had once asked him, 3 months into them knowing each other in Lagos, whether he was happy with his life. Not successful, happy. And he had thought about the question genuinely before answering that he thought so, that he was doing what he wanted to be doing, and she had nodded and said, "That's the part that matters. The rest is just decoration." He had not said anything in response, but he had thought about it for weeks. About the way she had once, when she discovered that he was sending money home to Warri every month, asked him not how much and not why, but simply, "How long have you been doing that?" And when he said, "Since I was 13, she had been quiet for a moment and then said, "That's a long time to carry a thing." And he had felt, in that moment, seen in a way that had nothing to do with money. About the way she had, just last week, insisted on paying for dinner. Not as a performance, not to make a point, simply because she had said it was her turn and she meant it. He had let her pay, and she had chosen a decent restaurant, nothing extravagant, exactly the kind of place they always went, and she had split the bill with the matter-of-fact ease of someone who would never think to count who had paid more over the course of a relationship. About the way she looked at him sometimes, specifically when he was talking about something he found genuinely interesting, with an expression of focused warmth that had nothing in it of calculation or strategy. Just attention, just her attention on him. He sat in the broken room, and he thought about all of these things. And then he did something that he had not planned to do when he came to that room. He called her. "Are you busy?" he said when she answered. "I have 15 minutes before a meeting," she said. "What's up?" "I'm in Mushin, at a property I've been trying to figure out what to do with." This was technically true. "Is it a problem property?" "I'm sitting in it right now," he said. "It's not great." "How not great?" He looked around. Cracked walls, a hole in the ceiling, one plastic chair, a mattress on the floor. She laughed, the particular laugh she had that started in her chest before it reached her mouth. "That sounds like a project." "Maybe," he said. "I wanted to hear your voice." A small pause. "Are you okay?" "Yes," he said. "I'm more than okay. I just wanted to hear your voice." Another pause, shorter. "My meeting is in 12 minutes, she said. "But I can come to Mushin after if you're still there." "Come," he said. He sat in the room for 2 hours after the call. He was not thinking about the conversation he needed to have or the truth he needed to tell. He was thinking about what he knew. What he knew was this. He knew that this woman had been next to him for 11 months without once showing him the thing he had been watching for. He had watched her carefully, with the same attentiveness he brought to every important thing, and what he had seen was not a woman adjusting herself to his perceived financial position. She had never asked leading questions about money. She had never positioned herself differently based on what she did or did not know. She had paid for dinner. She had argued with him about a book. She had told him once that she thought his approach to a specific business situation was wrong, clearly and directly, which is what you do to an equal, not to someone you are trying to impress. He knew what he had seen, 11 months of evidence, and the evidence was one direction. He also knew something else. He knew that the longer he waited, the more the act of withholding would become the thing, rather than the circumstances that had led to it. Right now, the withholding was a decision made for a reason. In 6 more months, it would be a secret. In a year, it would be a deception that had lasted a year. The timeline was not neutral. When he heard her car in the compound below, he stood up from the plastic chair. He had in his pocket a ring. He had bought the ring 4 months ago, not as an act of certainty, but as an act of preparation. He had bought it the same way he bought land before he knew exactly what he was going to build on it. He had bought it because the direction was clear even if the timing was not. He had not been carrying it every day. He had left it in a drawer in his real flat. But this morning, before coming to Mushin with no specific plan, he had put it in his pocket. He did not know, in that moment, whether that had been instinct or intention. He was not sure there was a difference. She knocked. He opened the door. She stood in the doorway and looked at the room. She looked at the cracked walls and the hole in the ceiling and the mattress and the plastic chair. She looked at him. "Okay," she said. "I see what you mean." "Come in," he said. She came in. She looked around more carefully. She walked to the window and looked at the compound below. She turned back to him. "What do you want to do with it?" she said. "I haven't decided yet," he said. "I've been sitting here trying to figure it out." She sat on the plastic chair. He sat on the edge of the mattress on the floor. They looked at each other. "There's something I need to talk to you about," he said. She went still in the way she went still when she understood that something significant was coming. She did not perform stillness. She simply became it. "I've been carrying something," he said, "since before I met you. A question about whether people could see past a certain thing to see me." She was listening. "I've been not entirely honest with you," he said. "Not lies, but I've left something out, something significant." He watched her face. It did not change in the way of fear or withdrawal. It changed in the way of increased attention. She was leaning in, not away. "My work," he said. "Property development. It's further along than I've said. When I say growing, I mean it's been growing for 6 years, and what it has grown into is significant." She was quiet. "I have a company," he said. "A real one, with staff and a partner who is a senior engineer and a portfolio that is valued at." He said the number. He said it clearly and without drama. She was very still. "I built a house for my parents in Warri," he said. "I told you they were in Warri, but I didn't tell you about the house." He kept talking. He told her everything. The pooled investment, Mr. Fashola, the 16 properties, the company, the actual numbers. The flat in Lagos that was not the modest flat she had visited but a different one. The real one, all of it. He told it all in about 7 minutes. He did not dress it up. He did not apologize in advance. He just told it. When he was done, the room was quiet. She was looking at him. He could not read her expression with precision, which was unusual. Usually he could read her. "How long have you known you were going to tell me?" she said finally. "I've known the direction for a few months," he said. "I've known today since this morning." "Why today?" "Because I've had my answer for a while now," he said. "I just needed to be somewhere that made it real. This room made it real." She looked around the room briefly, then back at him. "You were testing me," she said. "Not testing," he said carefully. "Watching, there's a difference." "What's the difference?" "Testing implies I designed something to produce a result," he said. "Watching means I was paying attention to what was already there." She considered this, her lawyer's brain working through the distinction. He could see it. "You watched me for 11 months without telling me something this significant," she said. "Yes. And the reason was that you needed to know whether I was. Whether anyone could see me," he said. "Before the number, whether what was between us was us or was the circumstance." She was quiet for a long time, longer than he had expected. "I'm going to be honest with you," she said. "Please," he said. "Not angry," she said. "I want to be because there's a version of this where I should be. But when I sit with it, what I feel is not anger. What I feel is," she paused. "I feel like the last 11 months just became more, not less. Because the man who sat across from me in those restaurants and cooked that mediocre jollof rice and argued with me about that book was doing all of that while carrying this. And he was still just himself. He wasn't performing struggle. He was just being with me." He did not say anything. "But I need you to know something," she said. Her voice was level but with something underneath it. "I needed to know you. I needed 11 months of you, not your money. not your property portfolio. You, the boy from Warri who sold water at school and calls his mother every Sunday and stays in broken rooms in Mushin when he needs to think." She paused. "You gave me that, and then you told me the rest. That's the right order." He reached into his pocket. His hand was, for the first time he could remember in a professional situation, slightly unsteady. He went down on one knee on the concrete floor of the broken room. She looked at him. Her hands came up involuntarily to her face, just her fingertips, just her eyes above her fingers. He opened the ring box. "Zara Suleiman," he said, "I want to spend the rest of my life with the person who sees what you see. I want to build everything that comes next with someone who was there before the next was visible." She was not speaking. Her eyes were bright. "Will you marry me?" he said. "In this room, with this ceiling that has a hole in it, with the woman in the compound below still singing, will you say yes?" She lowered her hands from her face. "Yes," she said. It came out quietly, then again clearer. "Yes." He put the ring on her finger. He stood up from the floor. She stood up from the plastic chair. And in that broken room, with the cracked walls and the hole in the ceiling and the mattress on the floor, they held each other. The woman in the compound below was still singing. Neither of them noticed. He took her to the mansion the following Saturday. Not his mansion, his parents' mansion in Warri. He had called his mother on Sunday morning, the morning after the broken room, and told her two things. First, that he was engaged. His mother had made a sound on the phone that was not a word, but contained everything a word would have taken too long to say. Second, that he was bringing Zara to Warri next weekend, and he needed her to understand that Zara did not yet know the full picture of what he had built. "Does she know the house?" his mother said. "She knows now," he said. "I told her everything last night." "How did she take it?" He thought about the broken room, about the ring on her finger, about the quiet woman in the compound still singing. "She took it the right way," he said. His mother was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Then she is the right person." The drive from Lagos to Warri was 6 hours. They drove together, Zara in the passenger seat, the landscape changing around them. They talked easily, the way they always talked, but there was something different in the air between them now. Not heavier, fuller, like a room that has been opened to let in light and everything in it looks different because the light is different. She asked questions, not about money or property or what everything was worth. She asked about him, about the specific decisions he had made, about what it had been like to know something and carry it, about whether it had been lonely. "Sometimes," he said honestly. "Tell me about lonely," she said. He drove for a moment before answering. When you build something and you can't share it because sharing it changes what it is. When you want to talk about what you've done and you can't because the talking would make the thing visible before you're ready for it to be visible. That kind of lonely. "Did you ever come close to telling me before last night?" she said. He thought about it. "About 3 months in," he said. "When you paid for dinner and didn't make anything of it, I almost told you that night." "Why didn't you?" "Because almost knowing and knowing are different things," he said. "I almost knew. I needed to actually know." She nodded slowly. "And now?" "Now I know," he said simply. She put her hand on his arm. She left it there for the rest of the drive. When they arrived at the estate in Warri and turned through the gate and his parents' house came into view, Zara was quiet. The house was beautiful. Not enormous, not ostentatious, but genuinely beautiful, designed with care, with the specific quality of a house that was built by someone who knew what the people who would live in it had come from and wanted to give them its opposite. "This is," she started. "Built 2 years ago," he said, "for them." She looked at the house for a long moment without speaking. His mother came out of the front door before they had finished parking. She was wearing a good wrapper and she had done her hair, and her face was carrying everything she was trying to hold inside it. She walked to the car quickly for a woman who was not young, and she hugged Emre first, quickly, and then she turned to Zara. She looked at Zara for 1 moment. Then she hugged her. Not a polite hug, a real one, the kind that a mother reserves for the people she has decided to let in completely. Zara, over his mother's shoulder, met his eyes. Hers were bright. "Come inside," his mother said, holding Zara's hand. "I have been cooking since yesterday." The house was full of food. His mother had made everything she knew how to make. The kitchen was producing the kind of smell that Imre had grown up with, but at a scale and in a setting that was completely different from the kerosene stove in the rented compound. His father was in the sitting room. He stood when they came in. He looked at Zara with the evaluating eye of a man who has worked hard and built little, and has a son who has reversed that trajectory, and wants to see whether the woman his son has chosen is worthy of what the son has become. After about 30 seconds, Boniface Bello did something unusual. He smiled. "Sit down," he said, "both of you." Dinner was long and loud and full of stories that Imre had not heard before. Stories his parents had never told him. Stories about when he was very young, about the cold water business from his mother's angle, about the day Boniface had come home and found Imre at the kitchen table with a notebook full of numbers at the age of 14. "I thought he was doing homework," his father said. "Then I looked closer and it was a business plan for expanding the school selling, complete with cost estimates." He shook his head. "I called Miriam from the kitchen and I showed her and she said, 'Don't disturb him.'" His father laughed, the big laugh that Imre remembered from childhood, the one that filled a room. She was right. Zara laughed too, and then she asked his father a question. "Were you ever scared?" she said, "watching him do all of it?" Boniface was quiet for a moment. An unexpected question. He thought about it seriously. "Sometimes," he said. "When you watch a child running fast, sometimes you're proud and sometimes you're scared he's going to fall, both at the same time." "Did he ever fall?" she said. "Once," he said. He looked at Imre. "You remember?" Imre knew what he was referring to. A deal in his second year after university that had gone badly wrong. A partner who had misrepresented a title document. Money lost. Not everything, but significant. 3 months of rebuilding. "What happened when he fell?" Zara asked, still looking at Boniface. "He got up," Boniface said, as if it was the only possible answer. As if the only interesting part of the story was that it ended with standing. Zara nodded. She looked at Imre. He understood what was in her eyes. She was saying something without words. Something about the boy who had told her about that period, told her it was a setback that he had recovered from, without telling her what it had cost or how he had recovered. She was connecting what she had heard then with what she was hearing now. She was completing a picture she had been building for 11 months. After dinner, his mother took Zara to see the garden. She had planted things. Peppers and tomatoes from old habit, but also proper garden plants, things she had wanted to grow for years and had never had the space or the soil for. She showed Zara each thing by name. Zara listened with genuine attention. She asked questions that showed she was actually interested. Imre and his father sat on the porch in the evening. The street outside was quiet. The neighborhood sounds were different from the Ecured or hobo sounds of his childhood. Cleaner, calmer, but still unmistakably Warri. The smell of the evening was the same as it had always been. He knew that smell from sleeping under it for 17 years. "She's good," his father said. "I know," Imre said. "How did you find her?" "At a conference," he said. "She was taking notes." His father looked at him. "Notes." "She was paying attention," he said. "In a room full of people pretending to pay attention, she was actually paying attention." His father nodded slowly. "That's what you look for," he said. "That's what you look for," Imre agreed. They sat in silence for a while. Not uncomfortable silence. The silence of two people who have said the things that needed saying and are resting in the fact that they have been said. "The house," his father said finally. He had never talked directly about the house. He had accepted it, he had moved into it, but he had not talked about it in Imre's presence. "The house," Imre said. "I drive home to this house every evening," his father said. "From wherever I have been, wherever I have walked, I drive home to this house." He was looking at the road, not at Imre. "I spent 30 years driving other people's vehicles to other people's places. Now I drive home to this house." He paused. I don't have the right words for what that is. Emre did not say anything. You do that for your children, his father said. If you are lucky enough to have a child who gives you something to tell them, you tell them. So I'm telling you. He finally looked at Emre. You did that. You did it. Emre's throat was tight. Thank you, he said. Don't thank me, his father said. I drove a bus. And I watched you, Emre said. I watched you drive that bus with dignity every single day. That's not nothing. That taught me something. His father was quiet. It taught me that the work is the work regardless of what it is, Emre said. That you do it properly or you don't do it. That you show up or you don't. I learned that from you. That foundation is yours. His father pressed his lips together. He turned back to the road. Your mother is going to cry again when you leave tomorrow, he said. His voice was rough. I know, Emre said. She's been crying since you called her last week. I know. Happy crying, his father clarified. I know, Papa. They sat there until his mother and Zara came back from the garden, laughing about something Emre had not heard, the easy laugh of two women who have found each other comfortable. Miriam was holding Zara's arm. Zara was holding a sprig of something from the garden. They came up the porch steps together and his mother said, Come inside. I want to show Zara the pictures. The pictures? His entire life in photographs on a wall in the sitting room. Emre at 4, at 8, in his secondary school uniform, at university graduation. His parents' wedding photo, faded at the edges. Kioma and Esse and him at Christmas one year, all three of them in matching outfits his mother had bought from the market. Zara looked at each one. She stood in front of the graduation photo for a long time. He looks the same, she said. He looks older now, his mother said. No, Zara said. He looks the same, the eyes are the same. His mother looked at her, then at the photo, then at him standing in the doorway. The eyes were always like that, his mother said. From a child, like he was already looking at something that wasn't there yet. Zara turned to him. Her expression was one he had not seen before. It was the expression of someone who has understood something fully, not just intellectually, but completely, in the way you understand something when the last piece settles into place. I know, she said quietly, and she said it to him, directly to him. He knew what she meant. She meant, I know who you are. Now I know all of it, and it confirms what I already knew before I knew any of this. The boy with the cold water and the notebook and the 14-year-old business plan and the bus driver father and the pepper soup mother. The man in the broken room with the ring. They are the same. They have always been the same. He walked across the room to her. His mother tactfully went to the kitchen. His father was still on the porch. Are you okay? He said. I'm better than okay, she said. The ring, he said. He meant the fact that she had seen it in that room, in that condition, on his knee on a concrete floor, not in a setting that matched what he could have arranged. I would have done this differently if I had. No, she said, don't say that. Zara. The broken room is the right room, she said. Do you understand? The cracked walls and the hole in the ceiling and the plastic chair. That's where you asked me. That's where I want it to have happened. Not a restaurant, not a rooftop, a room that was just a room. He looked at her. Because in that room, she said, there was nothing else, just you, and the question, and me saying yes to just you. He said nothing. That's what you wanted to know, she said. That's the answer you were looking for. You got it, in the right place. He took her hand. The ring was on her finger. The same finger, the same ring as the broken room. I need to show you something else, he said. She looked at him. My actual flat, he said, and the office, and everything else that belongs to the full picture. She squeezed his hand. Show me everything, she said. The following morning before they left, Imre's mother hugged Zara in the driveway for a long time. His father shook Zara's hand formally, the same handshake he had used when he first met her, but with a quality now that it had not had the first time. Wait, something transferring. As they drove out through the gate, Zara turned and waved from the window. His mother was still in the driveway, waving back. His father had his hand raised once. They drove in the quiet of two people who have arrived somewhere significant. On the road back to Lagos, with the Warri morning breaking orange around the car, Zara said, "Tell me about the business. Everything. From the land pooling in university to now. I want to understand it completely." He told her the whole story, every year of it. Every decision, the good ones and the wrong one, the setback and the recovery, Mr. Fashola and the 16 properties and the Abuja deals, and the expansion into Port Harcourt and the plans that were currently in motion for the next phase. She listened. She asked questions, good questions, precise questions that showed she was not just receiving information but building a picture. At one point she asked, "Where are you taking it? Not in terms of value, in terms of what it builds." He thought about this. Housing, he said. Real housing, for the people who actually need it, not the wealthy. The families who are earning for the first time and have nowhere decent to live. There's a gap that nobody is filling correctly, and I want to fill it correctly at scale. She was quiet. "That's your mother and father," she said. He looked at the road. "You're building what they needed," she said, "for other people's families." He had never quite framed it that way. He had felt it without framing it. Hearing it framed landed differently. "Yes," he said simply, "that's what I'm doing." She nodded once. She turned to look out the window at the passing landscape. "Then let me help," she said. He looked at her. "I'm a property lawyer," she said. "A good one. The legal structure of what you're doing is something I understand." She turned back to him. "Not just because we're getting married. Because this is what I know and this is what you're doing, and putting those two things together makes both of them stronger." He held the wheel. He thought about it with the serious consideration he gave every real proposal. He thought about the implications, the professional and the personal intertwined. Then he said, "Mr. Fashola is going to have opinions." "I have opinions too," she said. "I'm aware," he said. "Will that be a problem?" He looked at her, at the ring on her hand, at the woman who had said yes in a broken room before she knew any of this. "It'll be the best problem I've ever had," he said. She smiled, not the full laugh, just the smile that started in her eyes before it reached her mouth, the one he had been watching for 11 months. The road to Lagos opened up ahead of them. The morning was fully bright now. The landscape was wide and real and moving. Everything was beginning. And there you have it. The boy who sold cold water at a government school in Warri. The boy who sat beside his mother's pepper soup pot and learned the difference between what something costs and what it is worth. The boy who built 16 properties before his university friends had their first jobs. The man who sat in a broken room in Mushin with a ring in his pocket and went down on one knee not because the setting was right, but because the person was. And the woman who paid for dinner, who argued about books, who listened to him talk about a business she thought was modest and never once adjusted herself around it, who put her hand on his arm on the road to Warri and left it there, who looked at a ring offered on a concrete floor and said yes without hesitation, without calculation, without anything except the answer. He proposed to her in a broken room. And she said yes, without knowing he had millions. But here is the thing. Here is the thing that this whole story was really about all along. She did not say yes to the millions. She did not say yes to the mansion he had built for his parents, or the company with Mr. Fashola, or the portfolio that was worth what it was worth. She did not say yes to any of that. She said yes to a man who sold cold water at school because his family needed the help. She said yes to a man who called his mother every Sunday without fail. She said yes to a man who sat in a broken room in Mushin when he needed to think, not his office, not his real flat, not any of the places that matched what he had actually built, just a broken room and his own thoughts. She said yes to that man. And that man was worth more than everything else put together. This story is about more than money. It is about what we are when we strip everything away. What we are when there is nothing around us to explain us, or impress for us, or carry the weight. What we are when it is just us and one other person in a room with a cracked ceiling and the sound of someone singing in the compound below. That is who you really are, and that is the person worth building a life with. There is something else. There is the mother, the woman who sold pepper soup before the sun rose, who counted money in a tin under the floor mat, who said to a 10-year-old child, "You watch everything," and received the answer, "I'm learning the difference between what something costs and what it's worth," and had the wisdom to put her hand on top of his and press it once and say nothing more because there was nothing more to say. Every mansion has a foundation, and the foundation of everything Imre Bello built was a woman in a wrapper and a headtie beside a kerosene stove who decided her son was going to have a life. He remembered it, every naira of it, every morning of it. He built her a house and he is still building, and every building is for her, because every building is for the family who needed one and did not have one, because he was that family, and he has not forgotten. Do not forget where you come from. Not because the past is better than the present, but because the past made you. And the present is better because of who the past made you into. And the future is built by the person the past and the present together have created. Imre built with his hands and his mind, and the knowledge his mother put in him before he had words for it. And Zara said yes in a broken room. And together, they are building everything that comes next. My wonderful viewers, this story is about love. But the love in this story is not the love of flowers and restaurants and grand gestures. It is the love of being seen, completely, honestly, in a broken room with nothing around you that is not true. That kind of love is the rarest thing there is. Do you know someone like Imre? Do you know someone who is building quietly and carrying it alone? Do you know someone who is waiting to be seen past the circumstances, past the surface, past the visible things? Be the person who sees them. Drop a comment right now and tell us what this story made you think about. We read every single one and we love hearing from you. If this story moved you, like it right now, share it with one person who needs to hear it today. And if you are not subscribed to Folktales Vision yet, subscribe right now and turn on the notification bell. We are here every week with stories that stay with you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. We will see you in the next story.